here we go. This is, we talk about key principles. We talk about the fact that, one of the benefits of the owner form is, your lack of net worth or income or liquidity is not going to stop you from doing your deal, because we have enough people in the owner forum who will qualify as a key principal that we will tap them on the shoulder, and oops, I'll go back there, tap them on the shoulder and get you what it is that you need to qualify. And that's it. Listen, all this business is just filling in the blanks as you go through the process. Oh, you need this. Okay, I'll get it. And that's how it works. You just figure out what the next step is. So let me just kind of touch upon here. And this is a textbook definition right from Fannie Mae. A key principal is a person who controls or manages the borrower or the property, are critical to the successful operation and management of the borrower and the property, and this is key, guys, and who may be required to provide a guarantee. So one of the things that people don't understand with the key principal is that they do sign a personal guarantee. Well, wait a minute, it's a non-recourse loan. They can't come after me personally. Yes, they can. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in just a moment. So you'll all understand that the KP isn't just signing on their name on a non-recourse loan and walking away because they've got no liability. They have potential liability. And as a result, for taking on that risk, they're going to be compensated. That's where they get paid. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit more. Let's go on. Of course, it never works. Here we go. So let's talk about the eligibility. This is key, and this is why many people need a key principal in the deal. So a key principal is generally, they need 6 for the post-closing liquidity, meaning after all the cash has left your bank account to buy the property. After that, you can show that you've got liquidity equal to or greater than 6 months of the mortgage payments. Okay? Showing it in another bank account. That's the number one requirement. That's the first requirement of a KP. They have to be able to show that post-closing liquidity. How much is it? Well, it depends on every deal. Every deal is different. Now, the next thing, and this is something you got to understand, is that the assets held in retirement accounts are not considered liquid. So you can't touch that money. Hey, I got $500,000 in my IRA. Yep, can't help you. Won't work. We want just cash, unfettered, unqualified, dollars that have not been spoken for sitting in your bank account. That is what they look at for liquidity. They also want to make sure that the aggregate key principal net worth is equal to or greater than the mortgage amount. Okay? Liquidity, net worth, those are the first two things. And now you see why, like, oh my gosh, if this is it, I'm never going to qualify. Don't say that. Don't say that. I'll show you in a minute. We'll take care of you. And then finally is experience. Now, back in the day, before the big crash, the Big Short crash, we are calling it now. Before that crash, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. Well, after the big crash, when people were just walking away from properties, they came up with experience and requirements. Minimum of 2 years experience with two multifamily properties, 5+ units, or 5 years or more with subject property. Now, in the past, if you sat around and look at it, Scott Stamps just asked that question. Can the KP use HELOC funds to meet the liquidity issue? I'm going to say yes, because those are non-qualified funds. You can get your hands on them. Sometimes you might need to write a check and put it in the bank account just to show the bank you've got it. You pay the HELOC back. But yeah, I think, and I'll tell you something. A lot of times, that's what you have to do at closing to meet these requirements. You just got to take money from all your different accounts to stick it into one big account. And Doug Benson just says they don't consider your debt as well. So they're just looking for liquidity. So if you can take it off of the HELOC and they don't look at your debt and throw it into a bank account, you satisfy that requirement. So that's part of it. Now this is kind of key, and this is where it starts to get, let me just make sure that I didn't jump ahead. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about some of the issues that come up when we're talking about KPs. Let's talk about the personal guarantee. There's a coaching call that we did many years ago, and I'm going to pull it up, and it's going to be on the Trello board as one of the videos you have to watch. But what it does, what that training does, what that document says in the training, it talks about the Fannie Mae loan documents and the personal guarantees. Here's how it works. You've got what are called the bad boy provisions. Everybody knows about them. Everybody's heard about them. They're all clearly laid out. Originally, there were like 4 bad boy provisions. Then they grew it to like 6 bad boy provisions. We're talking about waste, fraud, abuse of the property, of the subject property, mismanagement. Those types of things obviously would have to be proven in a court of law. They can't just accuse you of it and then start coming after you. They're going to have to be able to prove that you did these things to a level satisfactory to violate the terms of the contract. But if you violate the bad boy provisions, you at the closing, part of the closing documents is all the key principles, just the key principles, and you'll see why I stress that in a moment. Just the key principles are the ones that have signed the personal guarantee. And if there's a violation of the bad boy provisions, and they take the property back, and they sell it at foreclosure, and they take a loss, Fannie Mae or whoever held that guarantee can come after the KP for the deficiency. They can come to them and say, hey, and this is a personal guarantee. You can't hide, behind a corporate veil. This is a personal guarantee. They will come after you for your personal net worth to cover that shortcomings, that shortfall. So this is a real thing. This is you got to take into consideration that when a guy signs, or what man or woman signs on that dotted line to be your KP, they're taking on risk. They're putting trust in you. That's why they're going to be involved. They're part of the LLC. They want to see what's going on with the deal, and they're going to watch the numbers and make sure you're performing perfectly, because they don't want to be involved with having Fannie or Freddie take this property back, and if they come after them because you guys violated one of the bad boy provisions. Okay, so that is one of the most important caveats of being a KP. Now, when they come back in and they start scrutinizing you during the underwriting process, they're going to look at everything. They're going to see if there are any felonies on your record. Now, I talked to Kevin Jenkins while putting this thing together, and he said, listen, not all felonies are created equal. There are some that if you go and you explain it to the underwriter and explain what happened, DWI, whatever it could possibly be. If you can explain it and it's disclosed, there are ways around it. But if you do have something that they don't want to see on the record, they will ask you to step aside, and somebody else is going to be handling the KP duties. Now, so that is they will look at each case individually. Now I'm going to jump down to the final button here. Is that when you get to the application part of the process and you think there's something in your past that could potentially cause a problem, disclose it. Don't wait for the due diligence to begin, because if they find out about it during the due diligence, you're done. Disclose it to your broker upfront. Don't waste anyone's time, because don't worry, we'll get around it. We'll figure out a way around it. But if you don't disclose it, I can't help you. Okay? All right, a couple questions here. So the personal guarantee the KP provides is not for the debt itself, but for the shortfall in the event of a foreclosure. That's correct. Because the only way that this would happen, Gabe, is they actually take the property back in a foreclosure proceeding. and they get the property back. So there's still an asset there. They're gonna have to go out and sell it. They have a duty of care, and they have a duty to mitigate. So at that point, they sell it, they get the proceeds back. They look at the deficiency, and that becomes what's responsible for to make up the outstanding debt. The KP is not guaranteeing the whole debt. Well, technically, they are guaranteeing the whole debt and costs and expenses of the foreclosure. If they get zero back, well then they get nothing. I mean, they're going to have to pay that whole thing back. So yes, they are, as they say in the Lloyd's of London, they are responsible right down to their cufflinks on what they signed on the dotted line for.